better off at that. Right now, I think Kennedy would be better off feuding for the U.S. title rather than MVP. You know what I mean? Like, take the title off MVP, elevate him to the main event, have Kofi defend the title, and then Kennedy, I don't know, have Kennedy work his way up and prove that the guy can go out there, work matches, not get injured every single time, you know, and then slowly build him back up to the top. But I think MVP, who's been around, who hasn't been injured in, God, I can't remember the last time, if at all, MVP's been injured. You know what I mean? So I think it's MVP's time, and I think we'll see next week. It'll be interesting next Tuesday night when we're on here, and we'll be able to talk about that, whether MVP is still U.S. champion come next Tuesday night. So that'll be something to talk about next Tuesday, something to look forward to here at WZR Radio. We had Maurice against Kelly last night. We had what'd you think of this finish where Maurice attacked Kelly on the outside and shoved her over the announcer's table, right? And the ref rings the bell, calls the match. It's like, huh? You know what I mean?
It kind of reminds you a little bit of TNA booking.
Yeah, but dude, we've seen this. I mean, okay, guys work a match. Guys go to the outside of the ring. They bash. Somebody's head gets bashed against the announcer's booth, this and that, and then they get back in the ring and they continue fighting, right? Then we have a Divas match last night, and they go to the outside for a couple seconds. The girl Kelly gets slammed up against the announce table, and the match is over, right? It's like, okay, how can you call the match right here, but you never do it any other times during a regular match? It's like the booking is just, I don't know.
It's different. I mean, I understand with the females, like, you know, and like the Battle Royals, they're not throwing over the top rope. They're throwing either down below the ropes or whatever. As long as they fall on the floor and they're both feet to the ground, then they're eliminated. And I think that's probably what the caution thing that they decide to do, that diversion of booking is, you know, you can't throw her down on a table and then, you know, you'll get disqualified. I mean, I think it's stupid and retarded. Maybe she should have just grabbed a chair and hit her in the back or something, you know, something to really elevate the whole entire disqualification concept. But the ending was kind of it was stupid.
Right, and then where is Mickie James, who 2 weeks in a row gets a clean pin over Maurice, right? And then all of a sudden, Kelly wins a match last week on Raw, and they set this up, and you could tell they hot-shotted it, almost like they were going to save that match for the pay-per-view. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're going to have Mickie James and Maurice at the pay-per-view, because the feeling is that would be a better match with obviously Mickie, who's a great worker, and Maurice, who's come a long way since she came to the company. And Kelly has come a long way too, but needs more work than definitely needs more work than Maurice. So maybe your pay-per-view match will be Mickie James and Maurice. But it was like Mickie James was nowhere to be seen in that segment at all last night after 2 clean pins on Maurice, non-title matches, but 2 clean pins in recent weeks. You know what I mean? So it's just it seems like everything is hot-shotted. You know what I mean? I mean, things they've got. It's like 1 week they've got one plan, and the next week everything is completely different. You know what I mean? I mean, Mickie James seemed like she was in for a title shot. You know, maybe she still is, and maybe they just held it off. They didn't do it last week. Maybe we'll see something leading up. Well, we've only got next week's Raw, and then we've got the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, I think it's the second Sunday in June, so I think that sounds right.
First Sunday in June. Yeah, maybe the
first
second Sunday. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it's like June 6th or June 7th, somewhere around there. So we've only got one more week of Monday Night Raw. You know what I mean? To build that storyline, to build a Mickie James Maurice storyline going into the pay-per-view. But it just, I don't know, the booking. I mean, it was like, where was Mickie James? And she was nowhere to be found. And then we had a backstage segment that did the Bella Twins and Jack Nicholson. I did think the Jack Nicholson impersonator wasn't bad, man. Wasn't bad at all. I mean, his voice was a little bit off, but I thought he looked all right, you know?
I mean, he definitely had a younger look of a Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
But once he opened his mouth, it was just kind of like over.
Yeah. As soon as he opened the mouth. Yeah, especially when they asked him. They did the scene from the movie there. What was the movie called? Do you remember?
Few Good Men.
Few Good Men. Yeah, they did that scene, and at the end they asked him what he thought of it, and he said something like it was all right or something. And as soon as he said that killed it. Then we what else? I don't want to go through every match. You know, people get bored with this, but they did the triple threat match: Hardy, William Regal, Kofi Kingston. Basically, that sets up Kofi Kingston and MVP for the U.S. title next week on Raw. Just kind of got done talking about that. I think, I know Jose doesn't think this, but I think they take the title off MVP next week. Hopefully, if they do that, he gets that post that I believe he deserves, you know. I mean, over on SmackDown, he was always able to shine over there. They moved him over to Raw. He cut that promo a couple weeks ago. Good in-ring worker, and, you know, I think he can get over if given the chance. So it'll be interesting come next week. What did you think of the Ric Flair promo on Randy Orton? I thought this was really good to start things off. The guys were going back and forth. What was it? Somebody said something like, I can't remember. It's like, I don't know. I can't remember. What did you think of this segment overall? Hold on a second. I got a beep coming, and that's why I'm getting all flustered here. What did you think of the segment overall?
I mean, overall, just watching Flair come into the ring, given the fact that he's, retired, quote unquote, and just to have him come into the ring, shoot a promo, let Orton know exactly how he feels, and it's just, you know, I'm always a big, Flair mark. You know, when he comes out from the woos to drop kicking or not drop kicking, but dropping his elbow on his, coat, on his suit, and then just going onto the ropes, and then, that's just all classic Flair. And for me, I think it's just simply entertaining that Flair is back on TV. And I kind of, in a way, I kind of do hope that he decides to step back in the ring because, the man is, up there in his age, but you got to give the guy credit, man. I mean, he's still in good shape. He still can throw a promo out there. He can, close his eyes, and the promos are just coming off. And I think personally that, again, Flair on Raw, you can't go wrong with that.
No, I'm going to say this, right? I think they hold off Triple H's return, all right, and then you have. You do this at SummerSlam, right? And you have a match. You have Triple H versus Randy Orton in a Hell in a Cell, which was the plan as of a couple weeks ago. But things are always changing in WWE, so who knows? But that was the plan. So you do a Triple H versus Randy Orton Hell in a Cell match, or just whatever the stipulation is. You do Triple H versus Randy Orton at the SummerSlam pay-per-view, and then you've seen it, Jose. In recent weeks, they've teased, a Ric Flair and Batista storyline, and I still believe that Batista turns heel at some point, and I think that would be a perfect return match for Ric Flair if they were to do it, and I think you would save that at SummerSlam. I think you'd have a heel Batista, because I still expect Batista as a heel fairly shortly here, and then I think you do Batista versus Flair. Flair is your face and Batista is your heel.
I mean, for me, I always think that Batista is always a face, and I think the fans can accept him as a face. But you know what? There's some guys that just can't talk, and they don't need to. And I think what Batista is one of those guys that you don't need to write a paragraph for him. His in-ring animal instinct, pretty good, speaks for itself. And I think turning Flair into a heel will have a greater impact because it's just a lot of people just don't expect it. And a Flair heel, going, let's say, with the Legacy group, can only bring experience, and it kind of reminds you a little bit of the Four Horsemen when you had, Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Flair. So it's going to be interesting in the next couple of months and see what develops.
I see the thumbs down thing. You know what I mean? Where Batista does the thumbs down and then hits him with a Batista bomb or something like that.
It should be interesting whichever direction they end up going. I mean, either if Batista turns heel, if Flair turns heel, or if neither men turns heel, and they continue going based on their storylines. But I personally feel that in order to get legacy out there, having a heel Flair will get over more than having a Batista heel. Because, once Batista's done his programs with whomever, let's say if it's Triple H, and then who are you going to put him against? If you keep Flair as a heel, not only that, but you can now start aligning other talent if they wanted to add more to the legacy. I think long term might be a little bit more of a Flair heel than a Batista heel.
I've got to tell you, Jose, I have never had somebody during a live radio show, and the problem is I'm on my phone here, so I can't check who's calling. It's not